Oh, yes. What's up, friends? Hey, it's Galen. It is that time. It's 11 o'clock. So, doing this thing of going live and, all that kind of business. Uh, yeah, and generally let people trickle in here for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then get started. Um, yeah, it's Thursday. What a week. What a month. And all the things. As people show up, check in, say hi. Uh, yeah, always want to hear like who's there, where you're from, what company you work with, all that kind of jazz. Let's see. Carrie's here. Hello. Oh yeah, tonight is a full moon. Carrie on my team. If you follow us on a regular basis, you know that Carrie is all about that astrological stuff. It's great. We always get updates and reports. Damon, what's up? Tanya, yes. Oh my gosh. Hi, Tanya. Yes, I know. Coming to Portland. We're going to socially distance and have a beer. I love it. Cool. Okay. So it's 11 o'clock. We'll get started officially. Hello, this is Tell Me More About That. I am Galen, and we do this every week, every Thursday, going live at 11 a.m. And what I do is take the topic from my Culture Drop video, which is the video that I release every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., talking about different topic having to do with teams, culture, leadership, communication, emotional intelligence, all that business. Nicole's here. Guess who else is here? Tanya. Oh my gosh, all my favorite people. Damon, you're also my favorite people. I don't want to leave you out of this, but Nicole and Tanya know each other, and they're in different places of the country. So, anyways, hello. This week's topic is around this video. This week was what advice would you give to new leaders? And we had a lot of interesting interactions on Twitter and like a lot of people chiming in about that kind of stuff. So, Sky, hello, Sky. Carrie, hello from Bellingham. What's up, Carrie? Chris, what's up? From Ohio. Love it. I love it. I love all the people coming from everywhere. Cool. We got a juicy topic. So, couple things that. So how we do this is also an Ask Me Anything format. So we talk about the topic. If people have questions about the topic or any comments they want to make, throw those questions in there. We can talk about stuff having to do with new leaders, and what that looks like. And then this is also truly an Ask Me Anything format. So if there's any other topics you want to talk about, teams, business, any of that kind of stuff, throw it out there. Michelle from Ben. Hey, Michelle, thanks for being here. I love all my people. So that's how it works. And I'll generally cover the topic first, and then we'll get to the any other questions that are outside that topic. Secondly, first, every week on Instagram, we do a poll. We check people just to sort of take a poll. This week's poll was around hoodies. Are you a pullover or a zippy hoodie? What is your preference? And we split the room on this one. It was close. Also, if you're here, chime in. I want to know where are you at. Are you a zip over hoodie or are you a pullover hoodie? Personally, I'm a zip up hoodie, but I do have pullover hoodies and I love them. So, I could go either way. But generally, if I have a choice, it's zip up. But pullover won 57% to 43% over zip up. So, yeah. No, it wasn't pullover or hoodies. Wait, did I say it wrong? The poll was, do you want a pullover hoodie or a zip up hoodie? I confuse things probably. I'm just excited. That's what I do. Anyway, so that's it. Everybody wants a pullover hoodie. Well, they won anyways. Not everybody wants it. So, hate the zipper pouch thing. Oh yeah, zipper pouch, you get the full kangaroo pouch if you have a pullover as opposed to just pockets with the zipper in the middle, but I'm still used to that and I love it. So I love zip up, even though the pockets are weirder. I'm going to move the mic in closer. I just realized I never adjusted it. There we go. Okay, cool. So zip, yeah, Sky, yeah, see, Nicole wants a zippy. I know that Michelle's a zip. See? I'm a zip people here. I don't hate pullovers though. Some people feel strongly one way or the other, and I don't. So let's talk about this topic this week. We talk about what advice would you give to new leaders, and what I focused on this week in the video and the blog was just around this idea of not being the leader that you think you have to be. And I think a lot of people step into leadership positions sort of exposed to shitty leadership, to toxic, old school style leadership, right? There's a lot of people in leadership positions that are absolutely terrible. And so I think a lot of times we we have the sense that we have to be the way we think leaders are, which is, people's misconception of that is all, by media and everything else, is like authoritative, controlling over people, like, just leading with fear and, just it's weird. It's weird to me that like that's not really how great leaders are. But I think that a lot of people just sort of immediately are like, well, I have to I don't know, to be authoritative and be an asshole, and you don't. I think that for new leaders, it's like, be the leader that you've always wanted someone to be, which is somebody who cares about you as a human being, that is vulnerable, that admits mistakes, that asks for your input, right? That asks for your feedback and takes those things to heart, that like is hungry to learn and grow and like in service of you as an employee, right? To be like, if you have a leader who's like, my job here is to make sure that you are as successful as possible. What do you need from me? How can I support you? It's like, that's so simple. I don't know why almost any of the work that I do why I even have a job. But there's so many terrible leaders out there, and these things that are just so intuitive and so normal in terms of how you would think every leader would show up automatically. Intuitively, it's like, doesn't happen, which is crazy to me. So we had a ton of people on Twitter come back, because we were like, what advice would you give to a new leader? And we had like, I don't know, 40 or 50 sort of like retweets and comments and stuff like that of just people with a lot of stuff. Carrie made a word cloud, and we posted it on Twitter, but with a lot of stuff. The main huge word in the middle is listen, which is like, yes, listening. And I think that there's like a distinction there too, is like, yes, listen to people and what they have to say. And I say this in some of my workshops with teams and stuff like that, is like, there's a difference between just like listening to someone and hearing what someone has to say, and making someone feel listened to. Like, making somebody feel listened to with intention requires asking questions, really understanding, digging deeper, like, right, responding in a way that comes from a place of understanding. And if my intention is to make you feel listened to, that's different than like, yeah, I heard what you said. So again, listening is the biggest thing. But the other main words on the word cloud were like people, team, know, learn, right, trust, ask, like all the things that you would expect to come in here. And a couple people, let's see, Jeffrey Shapiro, interact with that dude a lot, had a quote, I think, from Radical Candor that was like, care personally, challenge directly, gain feedback from your team before you start providing any, to foster trust. If they know that you want to hear from them, right? Oh, if they know you want to, okay, got it. I read it wrong. You foster trust in your people if they know that you want to hear from them, which is true. And failure is an option, just not the end result, which is great. Let's see, Christopher Kurtz. Kurtz was also like, listen more than you speak, serve more than you ask, communicate more than you think is necessary, believe in positive intent, don't outrun your moral compass. He said, when in doubt, ask your mother. 99% of the time, she'll know what's right. Great. Moms are great leaders. Not all of them. I don't know. Anyways, they're great. Catherine Jackson. She's like, start each day by reflecting on how your actions can build people up or break them down. I think it's great. And then take up meditation to manage stress, increase emotional intelligence, and facilitate focus during chaos. I thought that was interesting, but like, right, self-work, know yourself and your emotions and stuff. Sharon Green was like, previous peers might need time to adjust to you, and that's okay. I think that's a great one, right? If you're becoming a leader, and there's a lot of dynamics of somebody who becomes a leader of their peers, right? Like, now you're part of this team, and now all of a sudden, like, you move up into a leadership position, and there's a lot of dynamics there. I think that's a really important topic. Listen to learn, remain curious, developing others is a good thing. Get to know what makes your team and each of your people sing. Kindness isn't soft. So really, really great things. Damon, manage to the no, always lead with yes. It's commitment to becoming a great active listener. Yep, completely. Yep, love it. Leading with yes, that's in my zone, man. I love it, for sure. It's like looking for ways to say yes, always being like, what's possible? Can we make that happen? And being a good listener, for sure. A lot of great stuff in there that came in. Yeah, cool. So any other, like, I don't know, thoughts, questions, things in that space? We love moms. Thanks, Emily. It's true. We do love moms. And Michelle's comment about like pull over hoodies mess up your hair. And I did the like Corona cut. I like recently shaved all my hair off, but when it was still spiky, and I have long enough hair that I can like spike it up and do something with it. Pullover hoodies like also do the same thing. Where like I have to wait until I have my hoodie on, and then I have to like do my hair. You guys, these are the big questions. These are the things that people need to know. So cool. That's it. Any other like questions about life, business? What's going on for you guys out there in terms of your work? Chris Hadley never said, "Hey, Chris, what's up, man?" I did say hi from Ohio. Got it. But yeah, any questions? What's going on in people's lives? What are you dealing with right now at work that you like want to chat about, have questions about? I love this stuff. We've got another like few minutes, so we can take it to the street, ask some questions. Just to talk about this, our topic for next week's culture drop is managing overwhelm, which is great. Got a bunch of ideas in there about managing overwhelm and like reducing stress, but mostly focusing on like overwhelm. That's a big thing. I think right now it's like easy to feel overwhelmed. Almost every business and team and person I've talked to is like working harder more now than like they have in a long, long time. From Carrie, can you speak to leading someone who thinks they are above other staff? Great. Okay, so you're a leader. You've got someone on your team who thinks that they are sort of elite. If I'm interpreting that wrong, correct me. But yeah, I guess to me, it's a really kind of broad topic in terms of someone who thinks they're above other staff. So I would want to be like, what behaviors, like what things do they do that sort of exemplify that? Do they talk down to people? Is it the way that they talk about other people to you? You want to give me a little bit of clarification there on that, Carrie, because I'd love to talk about that. But yeah, I'm always curious to be like, when people are like, here's this thing, I'm like, this dynamic, I'm like, what's the behavior? Like, what are they actually doing? Because that's a good one. And I think, my guess is sometimes that if somebody thinks they're above other people, then they're constantly pointing out other people's mistakes, right? Not taking ownership or accountability for like their contribution to the dynamics inside the team. Some of those things, but to the elitist mentality. Yeah. Some people are just that way. I'm always curious to be like, is it a big problem that they have that mentality, or is it, what's the actual like symptom of that? Are they mistreating other people? Are they disrespectful to other people? Do they gossip or badmouth about other people? The way they talk to other staff. Yeah, great. And I think if you're a leader, cool. So this is a great one. Couple things, and like a lot of the like foundational work that I do with teams is like, if you have and anytime that we talk about a symptom of poor behavior or a symptom of poor performance, it always goes back to the same thing, which is like, for the most part, my guess is that most teams or leaders don't have a really clearly defined, established code of conduct for your team. And I'll bring this right directly to my team specifically. So it's like the way they talk to other staff. If that's disrespectful or it's not supportive or whatever, if you have a very clearly defined culture, right? That is, and by culture, I just mean like a set of standards and behaviors of how people show up and impact other people, how they talk to other people, how they deal with conflict, how they sort of like, give and receive feedback, that kind of stuff. If we have those things established, then anything that exists that's outside of that, right, that's out of alignment with that established sort of culture and those ground rules, then it's easy to address. Because the conversation you need to have with somebody, if they're the way they talk to other staff, right, if there's nothing that says this is kind of like how we do that here, right, this is how we approach these different situations, then an employee, especially somebody who is like low accountability, can interpret that as you're picking on me. You're just saying that because you don't like me. And it's hard to point out like you're disrespectful to people if someone disagrees with you. So what I would say, just to get like actually concrete, first of all, like create a culture, create a list of ground rules and a set of ground rules for your team that says this is how we communicate with one another. This is how we deal with conflict. We don't badmouth other people. If we have a problem with someone else, we go right to the source. Like we give and receive feedback in a really productive, like supportive, coaching, collaborative way. But you don't have that in place, and you have an employee and you don't like the way they talk to other staff. I think that, again, it's a feedback conversation. So it's an opportunity to sit down with them. And I think once every 6 months or once a year is not often enough to have feedback conversations with employees. You need to be on an every 2 or 3 month basis having a regular check-in with them, right? And I do a whole section around giving feedback effectively. And part of that is that it's more consistent, but also like the three simple questions model that I use, which is, what are you doing great? What is your biggest area of opportunity to improve? And what does a 10 out of 10 look like from you? And if you have established those kinds of things, then when you sit down and have this conversation, you can bring that up, right? To be like, some of these behaviors that I'm seeing from you, I think is an area of opportunity to improve. But I think, to me, if it were my team and I was having that conversation with somebody, and I would like sit down with one of our employees and be like, I'm noticing that the way they talk to other staff, whatever, it doesn't feel respectful. I think it's a sit down to be like, first of all, pretty regular conversations around just checking in feedback. But I think it's a lot of, I'm seeing this behavior, I'm noticing this, like this is the impact that I think it has. And then I think that any conversation like that where we're giving feedback, it's really important to make that collaborative, to make that person more receptive to it. So I think it's also like, what are you seeing from your perspective? Like, what's going on for you? But to me, if I think it's really disrespectful or it's like impacting other people on the team, I'm going to be like, I noticed this, and I think it's a very serious issue, and pointing out very specific times about like this kind of behavior, this kind of, this kind of feedback, or these things I've seen, or this type of communication feels not supportive. And so like pointing that out, being like, what are you seeing from your perspective? Like, what is your view on this? Having that conversation. But I think if it's something where like, this needs to change, this type of communication is not supportive, it's not right. And Carrie, you responded, it's like lead with core values, which we do have. The issue that I have with organizations and core values is that they're not specific enough. Respect is not a behavior, right? Integrity is not a behavior. Saying specifically, we don't badmouth or gossip about other people. If you have a problem with someone, we go right to the source, is a behavior. And I can address that on my team if it's happening, if it's clearly defined. And a lot of organizations say respect, integrity, teamwork, trust. But they don't actually define what the behaviors are of that. And so it's hard to sort of correct or police or address those behaviors that feel disrespectful or lack of integrity, etc., because they're not clearly defined. They're just concepts, right? Respect is like, how do you make people respect? You can't, and it means something different to every person. But when we clearly say, right, we give feedback in a really productive way, that's kind, that asks questions and like invested in other people's success, that's a behavior. Or we say we don't badmouth or gossip somebody else, that's a behavior. So if I see those kind of behaviors, I can point to them specifically and say, that shit doesn't fly here, right? This is our culture, these ground rules. And so my work with teams and my suggestion is like, take a look at the core values that you have, unpack those into actual behaviors. What does that look like? Pick 4, 5, or 6 behaviors for each of those core values and write that out and get clear about it so that when you onboard people, when you're giving coaching and feedback, you can say, this is what flies here, this behavior. Because I think getting past core values, and everybody likes to think that they're respectful and has integrity and teamwork and trust and all that kind of stuff. The truth is, in organizations where we say we have that and we like, that's our culture, people don't act in alignment with that because those aren't behaviors, they're concepts. And everybody likes to think of themselves as being respectful. I know I sort of got into it with that, but I think it's so important, right? Anytime, and I have these conversations with leaders all the time around specific behavior or specific teams and specific departments. And I always know, if I ask the question, do you have a very clearly defined set of ground rules, code of conduct that is specific behaviors around how do we give and receive feedback, how do we deal with change, how do we deal with conflict, right? How do we approach and impact other people on the team? Usually they don't. So that's the work to be done. And Carrie, if you want to reach out to me, I have a resource for that too, or like I'd love to like follow up and like give you some guidance around that. But that's what you've got to do. Unpack those core values into behaviors, create a clear list of what those look like in practice, and start coaching and giving feedback on all of those things. The second you onboard someone, be like, this is our culture. This is what flies here and this is what doesn't. And then those conversations become a lot easier because you have people acting out of alignment with those behaviors and that culture. You can say, this shit doesn't fly here. And you knew that from day one. Let's talk about this. How do we get you to where you need to be? Cool. I know I went off on that, but like that's some of my favorite conversation to have with leaders. I probably missed some questions. I'm going to go back and look. Are they coachable? Damon, yeah, always a good opportunity for meaningful touch-based conversation. Yep, to be coachable. And again, that comes from creating a culture of feedback, right? Where we're giving feedback and having those conversations on a regular basis. Those 3 questions. This is what I think you're doing great. This is what I think your biggest area of opportunity is. And this is what a 10 out of 10 would look like from you. And if we have those conversations on a regular basis, then it's easy to address these things. Be like, I noticed the way you talk to some staff feels disrespectful. Like, it has the impression, the assumption that I make is that it sounds like this sort of like elitist thing, that you think other people are incompetent or whatever. You can point that out specifically and say, this behavior has this impact. This is what I'm observing. What are you seeing from your perspective? So cool. I love it. Lots of hoodie conversation. Horrible Bosses movie was a thing because everyone experienced crappy leadership. Hell yeah, Sky. Everybody has. It's out there a lot. Cliches aren't actionable. Yep, totally. We talk about values. It's like, man, who hasn't had a terrible boss is the question. I've had lots of terrible bosses. And I interact with lots of terrible bosses. And I'm like, what the fuck are you people doing out here? I know I swore, but this is live and I can do whatever I want. It's crazy. Build up their emotional intelligence. Yep, big team. I think also having training development in your team, having conversations around like, what is emotional intelligence? Training on that. Always developing your people. Having conversations on a weekly, monthly basis around different topics and capacity that you want to build in your team. So if you know that your team doesn't navigate conflict very well, then like start watching videos, start having resources, start having conversations as a team to be like, how does emotional intelligence play into that, and introduce these concepts and sort of build up, right? It's like, I think it's part of, as organizations and leaders, it is part of on us to build up skill level and build up capacity in our teams to be able to do, to work better together. So cool. All right. So many good questions. I know I went off on that one with Carrie, but so important, and I hope that's valuable to you. So I'm gonna get going, but I will say that I'm so tired of poor leadership. Yep, me too, Catherine. I'm with you. So cool. Every Tuesday, in case you're not on board with it, I have a culture drop email. Comes out. It's 1 5-minute video every Tuesday morning. Next week is managing overwhelm. We've got a brainstorming one, why culture matters. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up down the pipe. Yep, EQ is everything. Hire for EQ, promote for EQ, build capacity, have conversations about EQ on your team. So critical. Cool. Thank you guys for being here. I love you. If you're interested, subscribe to my YouTube channel for this every week. And then also, if you want to get on the culture drop emails, it's 1 email a week, no spam, no sales pitch. There's no paid version of it. It's just like 1 free 5-minute long video a week that's like really valuable. So cool. Experiences a crappy boss hasn't fully developed their own character before acquiring the leadership title. Yep, totally. And leadership is such a self-development process. Like, what are you good at? What are your gaps in knowledge and skill? It's like, do you know how to navigate conflict between two people really well? If you don't, you're gonna have a shitty time as a leader because you need to know how to do that. You need to be trained in nonviolent communication and how do you de-escalate situations and like productive language. How do you effectively give people feedback that's challenging to hear? It's like, you always have to be growing, learning, reading books, building up your own capacity, asking for feedback. It's like, that's what makes great leaders. And circling back around to this topic is like, advice for new leaders is like, stop thinking that you know anything or that you're fucking important because you have a leadership role. It's like, your title doesn't mean anything. Like, can you get people to love you? And the way you do that is to earn their engagement, earn their like high performance and their discretionary effort by being exceptional for them. So cool. Okay, great. I love you guys. You're great. I worked once for a boss who did not allow cursing. It was a miserable time. Oh man, my poor team. They're always subject to my filthy potty mouth. But I try to keep it in check. All right, you guys, I'm going to log off. It's been 23 minutes. I love you. Thank you for showing up. Great to see everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Okay.